has begun to draw comparisons to how unstoppable Shaq was. The Greek Freak's last game made it 13 straight postseason games, shooting at least 50%, tying Shaq's record. And yesterday, Giannis's former teammate Jared Dudley said the two-time MVP worked hard from a young age and wanted to be dominant just like Shaq. So, Shannon, how close an impact is Giannis to Shaq here?
Skip, we're taking... Because I really don't look at Giannis as a true five. Shaq was a five. So when I look at, dominant, so we're going to take position out of it. We're going to say the NBA is positionless. He's the most dominant thing that we've seen since Shaq. Because the majority of his points come like Shaq in the paint. And he's dominant down there, Skip. If you look at Shaq's 2000 finals against the Pacers, Skip, was crazy. He was 38 points, 17 rebounds, 3 blocks a game, on 61% shooting, on 39% free throw shooting. Giannis is averaging 32 points a game, 13 rebounds, on 61%, on 59% shooting from the free throw line. But here's the big difference, Skip. Shaq took 26 shots a game. Giannis is taking less than 20 shots a game. So that's letting you know just how dominant he is. Now, Shaq didn't get the help. What people don't realize, and you remember this because I think you're probably covering at the time, Kobe had an injured ankle. He wasn't the Kobe that he would later become. He only averaged 15 points a game in these playoffs. So Shaq was carrying the burden by himself. Chris Middleton is averaging 25 points a game, giving you 7 boards a game. So Shaq was carrying more of the burden, and he was all-time, because he went 43-19, 40-24, 33-13, 36-21, 35-11, and 41-12 to finish it off. But, Skip, if you go back and look at Giannis, he doesn't shoot the three. Shaq wasn't even trying to shoot. I don't even know if Shaq ever shot a three. Mid-range, Shaq was down low. Shaq was one of the few guys that says, I'm big, and I'm going to use it. I'm not afraid to be big, and I'm going to punish your little butt. You put a little guy on Shaq, Shaq wasn't going to bail you out by shooting a little baby hook from 12 feet. Shaq was going to bump you down and dunk on your head.
As he says on TNT, barbecue chicken.
Barbecue chicken.
Yep.
And that's what Giannis is, Skip. He's the most dominant thing that I've seen since Shaquille O'Neal.
I cannot wrap my head around that concept. I have Shaq ranked 3rd on my all-time greatest player list.
Okay.
I got him 3rd. So it's hard for me to even put these two guys in the same sentence because they're flip sides of each other.
They are.
Because Shaq just posted low, and once he got his feet established, you were cooked.
Yes.
You were barbecued.
Yeah.
And once he demanded the ball and got it down low, you could build whatever wall. You could build the Great Wall of China, and he would just power right through it like a Sherman tank would. And the point was, he was 7'1", 325 pounds. That's what he was listed at. I don't know if it was
335, 340, but okay.
There you go. Yeah. And I've never seen anything like it.
No.
I told you that it was almost like, unfortunately, he became the greatest offensive force I ever witnessed. He destroyed my San Antonio Spurs when they featured Tim Duncan and David Robinson, and he treated them like little rag dolls. He just tossed them aside. They had no chance against him, both of them. They could both try to dig in and lean into him, and he would just overpower them. And by the way, he was a dancing bear of a man.
You'll never see a man that size move like he can again.
He could move. He had great feet.
He could run.
And he had great skill around the basket. He had his little jump hooks, and he could shoot it off the glass.
Skip, you let him get in the paint, and he drop step you, he was dunking on your head.
He's going to dunk on your head, and the ball's going to hit you on the head when it comes through the basket.
Yes.
And he could tear down some hoops, man. I've just never seen anything like it. And the reason I said it was unfortunate, it got hard to watch because it got impossible to referee. The refs are like, I don't know what's a foul. Is it a foul or an offensive foul? Is it a block or a charge? I don't know. And they were finally just like throwing up their hands. He was unrefereeable.
He was.
Okay, so that's the complete opposite of this kid, and he's still a kid. But I told you earlier in the show, I've never in my life seen one player be able to benefit from scoring so many what I call hustle bunnies. They're hustle bunnies where you're just outworking people. You're playing harder. You're trying harder. And because you are 6, what do we give him, 6'11"?
Yeah.
He's got like 7'7" wingspan, and he's very athletic.
Yeah.
He has a good hand, a nice handle.
Right.
He's not like great, but he has a nice handle. He can handle the basketball.
KD.
He's not KD. And yet, when he goes on into the attack mode, he's like in 24-hour attack mode because he's diving for the balls on rebounds, and he's going to offensive rebound you to death just because he's going to try harder for the ball than you.
Right.
And if he gets it up around the basket, he's just going to lay it in off the glass.
Yes.
And if DeAndre Ayton lets him spin baseline and get baseline, it's the cardinal sin in basketball. You get taught it. You know, I was taught it when I was like 6 years old in church league. You cannot give up the baseline. And if you give up baseline to that guy, to this 34, and he wheels on you, he's going to be a dunk, or he can go up and under. It's a gimme.
Or you draw a foul.
It's a gimme. And again, he's a slightly better free throw shooter than Shaq was, but only slightly. But I give you that, 32, 13, and 6. But here's where you lose me on this. Shaquille O'Neal was a flat-out killer. He had killer will. He had big game intangibles. He had late game clutch intangibles where you could get it to, if you needed a big basket, you could dump it down and the big fella would get you one.
But I think the thing is, Skip, when you look at the point paints, I mean, Giannis scored the most point paints since Shaq.
Okay,
So that's what I'm looking at.
The numbers right now say that. I got you.
Yes.
But mostly right now. But if we look at the recent history of Giannis in the postseason, he's had a bunch of catastrophic flameouts where you say, well, how did that happen? Because teams built a wall and forced him to try to shoot a mid-range shot he does not have.
But here's the thing, Shaq just run over the wall. Shaq was
that's what I'm saying.
Shaq was just so big.
You couldn't stop him. You could. Toronto stopped him.
No.
Miami in the bubble stopped him. Stopped Giannis.
Right.
Well, they did. And Giannis isn't even the closer for his own team because Middleton takes over the closer duties, right?
Yes.
He's the guy responsible for getting you home.
I'm not saying, Skip, I think we're in agreement. We're not saying he's Shaq, but he might be the closest thing we've seen.
Those numbers are Shaq-like. I give you that, but it's in a very different package.
Okay, the numbers don't lie there. Guys, will Hard Knocks propel the Cowboys to the Super Bowl?
Yes.
No.
It's never been done, but maybe that's next.
No mercy.